Welcome back, Edo.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Another episode of The Turning Point. I am happy to be back, but I had very stressful days last week. I was not even able to do a lot of research in crypto, although we're going to be covering the geopolitical connections and also the broader perspective. So I don't think it's relevant what happened in the last 2 or 3 days, anyways. So, yes, as you all know, probably, I had a very stressful week last week. Basically, I went to sleep one day very peacefully, and I woke up the next morning and my YouTube account, my YouTube channel had disappeared. So, not disappeared, it was actually banned without strikes, without warnings. So, if you are not a creator, you're probably not familiar on how it works, but usually YouTube has to give you 3 strikes, and that's how you can lose your channel. And strikes, they actually expire. So let's say if you have a strike after probably, I don't know, 12 months, that strike expires. I never had a strike on my channel. Actually, I had one few months ago. In the same week, I was banned from Twitter, and I was able to actually appeal the decision of YouTube, and they recognized the strike was a mistake. So this week I had the same situation, but no strike, no warning. I just woke up and my channel was banned. So it's a very scary situation because you put so much hours. It's not a hobby for us. It's a business. It's a way to make it for a living. And when you put so many hours of dedication, hard work to provide the best information out there, and you deny hundreds of sponsors, and one day you wake up and your channel just disappears, it's very frustrating. So it's something that we have to be very aware. There is a lot of censorship in these platforms. I never recovered my Twitter account, but happily after 4 days, and I think thanks to a lot of you that were tagging YouTube support on X, the platform that I am no longer allowed, I got a human review. Apparently, their AI systems, for some reason, banned my channel. So I got multiple appeals denied until I got to the point that a human being actually revealed the situation, which is outrageous. I mean, in the meanwhile, there were like dozens, if not hundreds, of fake YouTube channels. So every time someone was looking for my channel, they would find hundreds of impersonators, people promoting online scams. You had videos that were giving like fake WhatsApp numbers. So I want everyone to be very careful. I don't share my WhatsApp number with anybody. That's private. I don't reply to comments on YouTube by sending numbers or anything that you can text. So that's a way that they are taking advantage of the real channel being banned. But it doesn't change the fact that it's very frustrating because it exposes how much these platforms can just press a button and your channel is gone, your revenue is gone. The same happened to my Twitter account. I don't know what's happening with me, honestly, because look, I lost first, my Facebook was not a business for me. Anyways, I lost it back in the pandemic. You can guess the reasons. I never got it back. Was not a business. It was easy for me to just get over it. Later on, I lost the Twitter accounts, which I had the most influential Twitter account that talks about XRP on Twitter. Gone forever. I never recovered that. I even started a lawsuit against Twitter. I spent almost 6 figures, lost a substantial portion of my revenue, and I never got the account back. Still, hundreds of fake accounts on Twitter who are using my name, yet I'm not allowed on the platform. Who knows why? Later on, I lost my TikTok account for 3 months. You might not remember. It's so many things that I can't even remember, but yes, I lost the TikTok. I recovered the TikTok, but I got blackmailed on TikTok. Someone sent me an email and they said they were demanding me like 15,000 euros. If I don't send them money, they would ban my TikTok. Next morning, I was banned. It took me 3 months to recover. And then 3 weeks ago, I also got a notification that my Gmail account was actually being victim of a government-based attack. Trust me, I have the screenshots, which happens to like 1 in 1,000 or 10,000 users. So it's just messed up. I don't really know what's happening, but I just want to make everyone know that I am back. My channel happily is fully restarted. I did have a lot of stress, like you can't even comprehend how much stressful it is. I think Versan knows, he talked to me. We had a few calls, and thank you, Versan, for all the support, by the way, man. But yeah, it was very stressful, and it shows that we need to explore decentralized alternatives, because in these platforms it can happen overnight. One day you have your channel, the other morning it can be wiped out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you guys can hear me well, right? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
New microphone, I'm testing it out. You know, it's really tragic what you've been through, Edo, and I've been there along with you through the whole thing. You have been attacked relentlessly, removed multiple times, and like you said, you weren't able to recover your X account. And this just confirms that censorship is not slowing down, it's really accelerating. And now with artificial intelligence, it's getting far worse. And that's simply because every word you post, every action you take, everything is being monitored. Even for those guys on X that are putting a lot of truth out there, I can tell you they're being monitored. And in some cases, they're being flagged or suppressed, and they're being put aside for when things eventually develop into the digital IDs. And that's where the real risk is. Because, you know, we talked about this off record. See, people are saying they can't hear me properly. Sorry.
I can hear you good, man.
Okay, I just want to make sure everyone can hear. I apologize. But when you start to look at the censorship with artificial intelligence and you start to tie this into digital IDs, that's where you start to see the real risk, because eventually it's going to be your ability to transact and participate in the economy, or even access services that, you know, you depend on. If you don't comply with their rules and regulations, which is essentially going with the New World Order, really complying with that, then you are excluded from the economy, really. And we've talked about this so many times, yet it is getting worse. It's accelerating, and the tech right now exists, to your point, to build the infrastructure to have this parallel economy. But I don't think we have the courage or discipline to actually get there just yet. But just understanding how this is not going to be optional later on down the road. If you want to protect your freedom and your financial sovereignty, you need to find alternatives. Now, people have said, Edo, why don't you go on to Rumble? Now, we're on Rumble. I already have a Rumble account, but recently, I think it was like a year ago, BlackRock purchased 50% of what Rumble is. So is it now centralized? Who's watching? Who's listening in, right? So I don't think there is any more privacy anymore, but we have to be very cautious with what we say. And, you know, it's just really getting bad. And I'm very sorry you had to go through that, Edo. I hope you don't have to go through that again. And we just have to be resilient and continue on the path forward, because I think what we're trying to do here is really bridge not just the community, but bring truth into the conversation. And, you know, many people out there kind of go with the flow and they go with the trend, and the AI algorithms reward them instead of people like us who are constantly suppressed. I did have my channel shut down once in 2021, and it was really scary. So this is what it's going to be like in the future financial system. It's not decentralized, it's centralized. So we're going to see how this evolves. But right now, I mean, if you're not playing by the rules, you're going to be punished for it.
Yeah, even if you play by the rules, they can even flag your account just like they did to mine, you know. To be honest, I don't really say a lot of things that I think on YouTube because I understand how it works. And even though I got suspended and banned overnight, so it is very concerning. And the worst part is that to get a human review, to talk to a human being is almost impossible. It's all run by artificial intelligence, which is a nightmare. I actually shared some thoughts on Instagram, how frustrated I was with the artificial intelligence, because even though they tell you you are talking to a real human being, they are just copy pasting what AI is telling them to do. So in other words, even though there might be a human being that is only there sitting on the chair, copy pasting, it's all an AI model. So there is no sympathy, there's no empathy for other people. It's just that you are subject to these unilateral decisions that they take using automated models, and it's extremely frustrating. Even my experiencing on fighting with Twitter, even when I actually hired a top law firm, they responded to the law firm with artificial intelligence, which is just insane. Even my lawyers couldn't believe it, you know. And then guess what? They have unlimited researches. They can just draw these things forever. You can't just fight them, you know. So it is very frustrating, but I am happy. I am over it now. I hope it will not happen again. I pray it will not. And I am very thankful for all the support. I know a lot of you actually found me on Instagram, which is a platform that I don't use that much for content. It has always been more a private platform for me, but I know a lot of you found me there and sent messages. So I am still in the process of responding all of them, but I'm very thankful to everyone.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate your support, and hopefully this doesn't happen again. I think you're doing more of a service than anybody I actually work with and listen to. So, you know, I'm grateful, even Edo, for everything you do.
Thanks, Versan, man. I'm grateful to you as well. I did a video today, by the way, I'm going to publish later, where I explain more about my journey and how I actually, I was just saying that I always have been very good at writing and expressing my thoughts. Like I have been always a good writer. So when they took my Twitter account from me, I had to kind of evolve to a new reality where I make videos, and it's not my mother tongue to talk English, so it takes more efforts for me and to go live and these things. And I am very thankful to you, Versan, because you have been pivotal on this journey. You helped me with the YouTube channel much more than anybody else. So I owe you a lot, and I'm very thankful for that, because I had to kind of adapt to this new reality, and I am happy I succeeded on YouTube as well. But it was not an easy transition for me, you know.
Yeah.
I was more used to just write my ideas and put that out on Twitter. Of course, sometimes I was doing videos, but it was not always, and it's a different format. So it took me some efforts to build YouTube and to be very consistent. It takes, you know, how much hours you have to spend. It's more than a full-time job. People can't believe it, but it's much more. It exceeds a full-time job, you know. So it's very frustrating if they can just shut you down and shut your revenue without, they don't even need to tell you the reason. This is very insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's only going to get worse. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yeah.
So we're just going to have to be very cautious with what we say. But listen, I know there's a lot to talk about. Where do you want to take this conversation? Because my title is All Wars Are Bankers' Wars, and here's why. So which direction would you like to take this conversation in? Because the truth is we can cover anything, and I think it's all tied together systemically. So
yeah, so let's begin with the war. I think you are more updated. Yeah, I think you are more updated. As you guys probably realize, I was not doing research in the last 3 or 4 days, so I don't know what are the last moves about the war. But Versan, you can update us, and then we can tie that on the crypto markets. I think that's how to begin with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's quite clear. So we will answer some questions about Ripple and XRP. I do have some updates as far as major milestones and developments, because remember, we did start this as an XRP channel, right? But there's so many things that tie into what we see transpiring. For instance, like with the geopolitical stage, the war is not what it seems to be. And beneath the surface of every major conflict in history, you start to see this web of forces that are driven not by ideology or defense. It's really driven by money, power, and control. And there's a measurable pattern that repeats through history. Wars are simply engineered, leveraged, and used to accelerate and reshape the economy, reshape power structures, consolidate influence, and trigger even financial resets. So I think that's what this is kind of tied to. When you start to think about it, if a nation is like thrown into conflict, and I'm not going to use names here because that might get this video flagged, but the currencies right now all over the world are being destabilized. We see lots of volatility, markets are fluctuating, and we see debt reaching its all-time high. and the structure of debt is shifting, right? So massive disruptions are creating opportunities for those who understand the system, and I'm talking about the powers that be. And those opportunities that we're going to talk about is going to transform wealth, influence, and global power. So conflict is not meant to create chaos. It's designed to create and produce a mechanism for a financial and geopolitical engineering. So I think that's kind of what's happening with the world stage as far as Iran. It's not pronounced Iran, by the way. I keep listening to people say Iran, Iran. It's Iran. Okay. So I think people should get that correct. But right now, there's a lot of currency devaluation, and this is all tied to what you see shifting in the global stage. The conflict is now creating a crisis. Crisis will create an opportunity. But I want to clarify that if you guys think that, whatever his name is, Pete, the Secretary of War, whatever his name is, right? About this is like political, or this is about defense and protecting American interests. It's not, I promise you. This is a connection between war, money, power, and financial control. All right. So I have a video I do want to share with the audience here. And this is going to put things into context and help us all together look at the forces that are really driving the conflict beyond what you just hear in the news, because 99% of what you hear on headlines, as far as mainstream news, and finally, mainstream news has migrated to X, if you haven't noticed. All right. A lot of people on X who are young influencers get paid lots of money to push out the trend of the same headline that's on mainstream propaganda. So the video I'm about to share with you, I've double checked it. I double checked the content to ensure it actually complies with YouTube's policies. So sharing it is both legal and informative. We don't have any problems. I hope you guys can hear it. I did work on the audio this morning, and I'd like to hear your thoughts later on. I'm going to play it right now. All right.
Hope it's safe for YouTube, person.
That's what I was worried about. I thought about it for like 30 minutes, man. Should I post this?
Oh my
I'm
God.
doing my research, and it's good to go. Now, if this gets flagged, I will have a legal defense.
It's okay.
We'll see. All right. I think that was very powerful. Now, when you start to think about what's happening on the world stage right now, don't you see some similarities there? Yes, this will age well as far as the narrative. What's really going on is they are trying to achieve global dominance. There was a CIA agent that once spoke after he was decommissioned, and he said, the only goal and objective of the military industrial complex, which is aligned with the CIA, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Vatican Bank, we can go on and on. And now the United Nations, by the way, is that the end game is to conquer and expand territory and extract resources from all over the world. Essentially, bring in a new world order. That's what he just said over there. An empire that will last forever. No one will mess with us. So listen, we went into Iraq under false pretenses. We're doing it again. And the scary thing is that people seem not to understand and learn from their mistakes. More and more soldiers are willing to go fight for something because they're so plugged into it. They don't even realize that you're fighting a war for some old corrupt politicians that are working towards consolidating your freedom, taking away your power. So my question is, when are people really going to wake up and snap out of it, right? I think we all know who the culprits are in this. And since people said to trust the plan a few years ago, nothing has been accomplished. More division, more fabrication of material, more fabrication about what's really playing out in the world stage, and nobody has been held accountable. Some people just slipped away from the mainstream news, and that was it. So, it makes you wonder, what is their agenda here? At the same time, you have the convergence of artificial intelligence, a weakening dollar, the emergence of stablecoins, which is the new fiat representation of dollars and other fiat currencies, and the blockchain, which is an accounting mechanism. So all of this is converging on the precipice of another war. In my opinion, and I think this is more patriotic than people who would disagree with me, is that Iran is the last country, I think, that does not have a central bank. So, like Catherine Austin Fitts said, it's the final leakage in their system, their agenda. And hopefully Andy Schectman will make that formal introduction. Andy Schectman was going to put me in touch with Catherine Austin Fitts. So I'll bring her on the podcast here with my brother, and we can have a discussion. I'm going to ask her this directly, what she really thinks. But it's quite clear. And I think a lot of you in the community see this, right? It's just sometimes we don't have the words to put it into context. But I'll tell you what it is. It's deception. It's corruption. It's evil, man. I mean, without going into too much detail, you guys know who we're talking about. This is a demonic force. And they use the dollar as a tool and a weapon to get the whole world to bow down to the New World Order. This has been going on for a very long time. So when you look at the war and the headlines and Marco Rubio, know who these people truly are. They're not doing this for the better of America. The truth is, Iran is trying to defend their faith. Okay. They want to defend their freedom or whatever's left of it. And I grew up in the Middle East. I know this for a fact. It's nothing like what the American people see. And the sad thing is, it's really America that won't really snap out of it and understand that they are not the dominant force on the planet. There are other people out there. We are 5% of the global population. Okay. And there are billions of people out there. So we don't just get to make the rules for the whole world stage. And this ties into XRP and a lot of the other stuff we talk about. The world is going into a multipolar financial system where not one single nation hegemonic reserve currency will dominate the full force of the world economy. You're going to have neutral, agnostic, alternative settlement systems where not one country controls global liquidity. Okay. So there are a lot of things happening on the world stage, and I'm happy to break this down even further. Anyone that buys into the narrative is simply, I would say, a lost cause at this point. You know, you're part of the problem. You're the cancer, and it's spreading in some places, right? So they're trying to keep religious figures fighting with each other so they can continue to change the laws, divide our wealth and resources, and conquer and control us. So don't believe anything you hear on the mainstream news, or especially on X. There's a lot of bullshit on X. Lots of it.
Yeah, X can be a very toxic place. Sometimes I am thankful I am no longer on that platform. And honestly, the only winner of this war is the military complex. And this is what people need to understand. No, it's not about picking up sides anymore, left or right. I think this dream has ended a long time ago. If you have any doubts, just look for what happened back in 2019, where every single central bank and nation was colluded. They seized our freedom, and the consequences are still rumbling across the ecosystem. So it's kind of stop picking up sides and start to recognize the patterns. And I am very good at recognizing patterns, and I think you are as well, Versan. And I think it's all tied to central bank digital currencies. As you said, Iran's central bank is a leakage of the system, not only in terms of money, but also resources, as they control the oil supply of the vast majority of the Middle East. So there is a lot of hidden interests on why the United States is actually fighting this war. I wonder sometimes what happened to America first, right? Is Donald Trump really putting America first? I don't think so. And when you look at the statistics and you look at inflation, and I saw you put a picture, Versan, you were making your groceries a couple of days ago, and you spend nearly, I think, $500 for groceries. And I can confirm the same reality is happening.
170.
Yeah. It's happening all over the world. It's not one single nation. If you take 70 years ago or 50 years ago, you had countries going through economical distress and you could just migrate. If it's not good on your country, just go live somewhere else. But right now, it's happening at a global scale, and that's extremely concerning. So it's up to us to start to wake up to the reality. I do want to share some interesting data. It's actually a presentation. I did a video about this, so some of you probably have watched it. So just give me a second. I have to put here on full screen. And I am actually identifying a lot of patterns that are very similar to the 2008 financial crisis. So this is what is concerning.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah.
I knew the minute, this is exactly what I was talking about. It's just that there can never be a consensus, but the division will be permanent. And that's because people are so blinded by what they think they know. And I've never met more dumb people in my life than living in the USA. All right. And I'm not insulting the audience here. I'm talking about those idiots out there who think they understand what's going on around the world. Okay. All the morons are now starting to comment, saying certain things. And I mean, this is what I'm talking about, they are clueless. They are absolutely clueless. And I guarantee you, most of these people have never left the country. They've never traveled the world. And that's what most Americans do. They work a 9 to 5. They pay their taxes. They don't realize what's going on. And they live in a bubble. They watch sports all day and shoot automatic weapons. That's it. That's the United States, right? And it's really sad. It's really sad. You have a lot of stupid people in this country. Very stupid people.
Well, I think it's a lot tied to what people are consuming there as well, and the deficiencies of minerals that are in the soil.
Yeah, the truth is the algorithm, knows how dumb certain people are. So the algorithm focuses on the idiots to spread out the information. Now, I love the USA too, right? United States of America has never been more divided than ever, right? And that's because people are attacked on both sides of the plan. Okay. They're given certain algorithms. I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary by, what was it called? It was a famous documentary that was on Netflix about how algorithms, AI systems were being used to, if they knew this person believed this because on their searches, they would push them some content, right? And they would give their friend the exact opposite content. So they would believe that, and the friends would fight with each other, you see? And the truth is they were both stupid to begin with. They don't both realize that they're both being manipulated, and the power structures never get touched. They never get changed. And let me tell you something, the world wouldn't be the way it is today if Americans weren't programmed to be so naive and ignorant. Okay. People talk about the regime change in Iran. Like, okay, listen, there are a lot of governments around the world that don't do good things, but I'll tell you, the evilest government in the world is the Pentagon. It's the United States military industrial complex that works on behalf of a foreign agent. You guys know what I'm talking about. All right. So I'm not going to argue and lower my standards to deal with clueless, uneducated people. Okay. You either see what's going on or you really don't, and you're part of the problem. And that's okay. I pity you in most cases. Okay. My profession is becoming dealing with morons out there when I start to talk about certain things. Okay. So you're either, you really don't see it and that's your problem. You're part of the problem, and you're probably going to get wiped out when the financial crisis comes. So it's not in my interest to serve you. I talk to people who are light years ahead, who sit above the narrative. And that's what I try to do. Okay. It's just, yeah, I don't want to lose my temper because I have to deal with morons. I mean, I don't know what else to call them. Stupidity is quite contagious in this country.
Yeah, Versan, let them go. Let's focus on the.
Not for you. Yeah, tune out, get lost. Don't subscribe to me. I really don't care. But I think people should be upset when you start to see a genocide that was financed in our name with our tax dollars. So give me a break when you talk about a regime change when they kill a few hundred people compared to a country that has spread war throughout the whole world. all right, and use the dollar as a weapon to screw their own people and other people abroad. So be realistic. Okay, no one's perfect.
Yeah, maybe they should focus on changing the Epstein regime first, honestly.
Yeah.
This is not even a hit fiction, it's actually there on the files, and anyone that can get some time to read what's inside that should actually be able to come to conclusions. And honestly, I can spot a lot of similarities to the 2008 financial crisis, and this is what this quick presentation is about. Also, Versan, I want to hear your thoughts as well. So first, it all started with the S&P 500, and funds were actually getting margin called, and banks needed liquidity. So I actually spotted very similar patterns. I'm going to be explaining why. Also, I'm going to be covering why the price of gold has been correcting and why this is only a short-term pattern and gold is actually expected to skyrocket in the future. It's not a financial advice, by the way, but this is also a very similar pattern to 2008. So you can see that one of the reasons gold has corrected is because of the Gulf countries. They needed to sell gold because they are going through financial distress. So what happens is that these countries have gold reserves, and as they are not able to actually sell oil because of the Strait of Hormuz disruptions and the war in the Middle East, now these countries need liquidity. And of course, gold is a highly liquid commodity, so they are actually forced to sell some gold. This explains the short-term correction on gold, and that actually is the same pattern that happened back in 2008. I'm going to be showing that in a minute. So this is actually also back in 2008, we also had the price of oil hitting new all-time highs before the market crash, and we can see the same pattern is happening. We had oil retesting new all-time highs. Although we didn't need hit a new all-time high, we were quite close. So this is another indicator of a financial crisis. Then back in 2008, we also have this S&P 500 that was near all-time highs. And then you just see that it started to actually lose momentum, and suddenly it actually crashed a couple of months later. And it's quite similar to what we are seeing right now on the S&P 500. So you can see the pattern is very similar. This is, sorry, I put 2007. It was supposed to be 2008. But you can see that the chart is very similar to what's playing out in 2026. This is what we call a head and shoulder pattern, which, by the way, I started to talk about the S&P 500 actually giving signs of exhaustion weeks ago when it was still kind of in the green. We all know that it has been correcting for days now, although it hasn't been yet a major crash. But it's quite concerning. 2008 started exactly like this, and it's a very similar pattern. So we have many signs here. So S&P 500 hitting new all-time highs. This also happened before the 2008 financial crisis. Signs of exhaustion with lower highs forming on the chart. As I say, this is a head and shoulder pattern. We had oil spiking near the cycle. And also we had a gold correction before the breakout. So I don't think it's a coincidence, but it does not stop here. It's quite more concerning because right now we have another factor that didn't exist back in 2008. In 2008, we didn't have artificial intelligence that is set to wipe out the majority of jobs. So as you can see, 10 companies that have signaled they are replacing human employees with artificial intelligence. And if you just go over the internet, you're going to find hundreds of articles. You will know that layoffs are around the corner. Some of them already happened. So this adds more stress to the system. This is a new factor that we didn't have in the previous financial crisis. Also, this is very concerning. So you can see that there has been a record of 111 million Americans that can't pay for their credit card bills. So there is a lot of stress on the bonds market as well. I know Versan also wants to share some thoughts about this. Student loan delinquency is also jumping to nearly 25% in Trump's second term. So, Versan, do you want to make some comments about that liabilities that Americans aren't able to pay?
I mean, listen, history repeats itself in patterns, right? 2001, you had the dot-com collapse. It triggered a market panic. You had corporate bailouts. You had geopolitical maneuvering. What happened in 2000? And we went to war again, by the way, something to retouch on. And in 2008, what did we have? The global financial crisis, right? It almost collapsed the entire banking system. In my opinion, it really did collapse the banking system. Banks were insolvent, and then they're insolvent today. Debt markets froze. They're not frozen yet, but they could. Governments printed trillions and trillions of dollars, which devalued the currencies to maintain control. They used another war, right, with Obama. They went into war again to touch on that once again. You see how many wars we start? All right. And they put sanctions. Energy stocks started to shock the markets. And these are not separate events. They're all, they don't happen in isolation. They're used for triggering of massive financial resets. And that's why we had QE that came after 2008. QE is quantitative easing, when they could start printing as much as they want, devalue the dollar, not hold so much in deposits, but use those deposits to go print more money, right? And to spend it recklessly so the rich can get richer. So just every major crisis is about the same underlying forces. You have debt, you have leverage, and you have control. And I think the lesson is quite clear. The system never fails by accidents. Crises are engineered and exploited to roll out new solutions, right? And that's the pattern that we see. So I think with the dollar, it's just going to keep weakening. I don't care if people say the dollar's getting stronger and stronger. Okay, it could get stronger on the charts. And the charts are part of the illusion of the markets. And that's the perception that most people fall into that trap. If the dollar looks strong on the chart, but your purchasing power is still eroding because we keep printing trillions and trillions to sustain a debt that is unsustainable, what's the consequence? Higher inflation, more defaults, more job losses, because more and more businesses can't afford to keep their employees. Now there are cheaper solutions like artificial intelligence. So you have this cascade of crises that kind of emerge, okay? And what I find very interesting is that ever since 2008, that's where Bitcoin, emerged. And what they've been doing is financing this infrastructure. Now the infrastructure is almost ready. They can let people go and they can roll out solutions. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, I think the dollar is finished. I really do. The only thing holding the dollar right now is the confidence of the people. The people are not informed. So who's holding the dollar together? It's the people. While I think the wealthiest people are doing exactly what we've been teaching this community, right? They're buying hard assets. They're, manipulating the markets at the same time, like gold, silver, copper, other critical metals are being heavily suppressed right now. So don't be fooled by what you see on the screen. The very same institutions that we're talking about are manipulating the prices. They're quietly buying as well. They're accumulating massive positions while the public panics and sells. Okay. So yeah, this is a classic prelude that we see in behavior to another round of QE. And I find it very interesting that they're manipulating the metals market prices on a screen. And that's all tied to central banking, an unconstitutional entity that can inflect and influence the markets. And we kind of play along with it. But if they can influence the market prices, and that means they can alter our perception around them, then we start panic selling. That's what the majority of people do. And we're entering another round of QE. So they bring the metal prices down. They profit on the way down, by the way. They do QE. They start injecting trillions and trillions of dollars into the system to justify the war, create more inflation. And what are they going to do? They're going to use all that money to buy those discounted prices. Okay. So I just find it interesting how the metal prices are being suppressed and coming down while they're about to do QE. And the ones at the very top, and I'm talking about the big banks on Wall Street, the central planners, they get access to cheap money very fast, and they scoop up all the undervalued assets that more and more middle-class Americans had to sell to keep up with the rate of inflation. And the pattern keeps repeating, Eto. Fear constantly drives people out. Liquidity fuels the insiders, and the real wealth transfer constantly and silently moves into the hands of those who understand those cycles. And I'm sorry, but everyone just keeps chasing the headlines. And I see this even on X. while the real players are quietly consolidating control over your freedom and the very assets that underpin real value, like gold and silver. So I think the middle class is getting wiped out, and I think it's going to continue.
Yes, that's happening real time, Versan, and the pattern is very close to 2008. We had a correction for the price of gold, and then gold actually proceeded to be the best performing asset of the decades just a couple of months after the correction. So the ones that are actually panic selling gold are actually, in my humble opinion, making a huge mistake, because ultimately, if you have the physical asset, you should not be paying attention to numbers on a screen, but rather what they are doing behind the scenes. And you just described exactly what they are about to do. They're going to turn on the printing machines, and they're going to be buying all of the real assets. Once again, we're going to see, I think we are coming close to the point where they're going to wipe out the middle class. So it's time to make decisions. And the decision is in which part of the pyramid you want to be, at the top of the pyramid or at the bottom, because there won't be middle. And that's exactly happening with artificial intelligence. It's going to be the first time in history where who knows how much % of humans are going to actually be dependent on the government. They will rely on universal basic income, which they even rebranded it. Have you noticed how you go on Twitter and Elon Musk is actually calling it, how is he calling it? It's not
something high income.
Yeah, universal high income. That's how they are rebranding it. So that's the peasants going to be excited about it. So that's people are going to actually accept it, but of course, with a very high price. It's actually, if you're going to rely on government's money, you are actually giving away your freedom, your sovereignty, and that's extremely concerning. So from my point of view, I think we are heading towards a financial crisis, 2008 financial style, but with more factors to the equation, which one of them happen to be artificial intelligence. Is something that we humans are not yet used. We don't really know what's going to be the effects on the economy, but what we do know is that blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies are actually the currency on the artificial intelligence realm. As you can see, there is a rise on transactions, for example, on the XRP ledger. They are actually doing tests on the background. In the near future, AI agents are actually going to bypass human beings when it comes down to transactions. So you're going to have more transactions made by artificial intelligence than humans itself. And by the way, I actually saw some data this week. Let me just remove this from the screen. I don't think we need it anymore. But one thing that I have seen this week, which is quite interesting, is that for the first time in history, the amount of content on the internet that is made by AI already surpassed the amount of content that's made by humans. So this is already something that should tell you what's going to happen with transactions in the near future. So it's quite concerning. But at the same time, if you hold the underlying assets where these transactions are going to happen, then it's quite exciting, because you know there's going to be a high usage and a high demand for assets like XRP, XLM, XDC, assets that are capable of supporting, for example, micropayments, daily usage. Forget about BTC, forget about Ethereum. Those are obsolete technologies that can't comply with the demands of artificial intelligence. Hence why we are investing on the technologies that are going to play a pivotal role on this new ecosystem, where AI agents are now going to be utilizing programmable versions of money. So hence why stablecoins are also going to be at the epicenter of this transformation. But don't forget, stablecoins are just a repackaging of CBDCs. In other words, I don't see any difference between holding, let's say, USDC or USDT on your wallet than a programmable form of money that is issued by the government. I don't care if it's privately issued. I care if it's a programmable form of money that's subject to clawback on the blockchain. So if you don't pay your taxes, they simply deduct it automatically from your wallet. If you are actually getting a delay, which you, in other words, you no longer control your money, and that's what's happening real time. So hence why it's extremely important you have your crypto in cold wallets, where you hold the layer one protocols, just like XRP is the native asset on the XRP ledger. You want to be highly exposed, and it's not a financial advice, but you want to be highly exposed to XRP and minimally exposed to stablecoins. This is my take.
I was going to say it's not financial advice. It's good advice.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bersan.
Yeah, maybe you could get away with that. There's some loopholes, but you know, I normally don't want to apologize to the audience, especially when I was trying to say something to defend what is right, as far as like having peace on earth, right? But you know, I did lose my temper a bit. And I think any sane person that sees what's going on in the world would do that. It's not coming from a bad place, though. Okay. But I am tired of dealing with idiots out there who can't come to the same conclusion that a lot of us have. And the conclusion is quite simple. There's a small group of people who are dictating the terms of the world we live in. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired of paying for it, too. To what you were saying, you know, there's something I should touch on. About cold storage. I keep getting this question in the comments. All right. And even on my Patreon. Now, I have never had any issues in all my years with cold storage ever. And I use layered methods of security. I have hardware wallets. You guys are familiar with that. Cold storage, multi-signature setups, and air gap devices. Okay. Also, I have Faraday bags, and I also use Brave browser. That's my first level of security, which protects me from all the compromising data out there and spammers on the Google and Safari. So I don't use Chrome. I don't use Safari. I use Brave browser. It's free. Download it, make it your default browser, and you get paid in crypto every month just for using the internet. Okay. And you can connect it to your Uphold wallet and then swap it every month into SHX or XRP or XLM. So I also use another program called Cloaked. I don't know if you guys have heard of Cloaked. It's incredible. It protects you. So I have levels of security. My point, though, anybody in the ecosystem claiming otherwise either doesn't understand what proper cold storage really is, or they simply lack operational security, or most importantly, they have a vested interest in pushing people towards institutional custody. Okay. For context, the wealthiest clients I have and know are the most knowledgeable crypto holders, and they're multimillionaires, these individuals. They store all their assets offline in cold storage. Now, this is where people will say, well, what about all the people with certain groups, right? Other platforms out there, institutional custody. The very few people and clients I have that actually do have institutional custody are the very same individuals that haven't taken the time to learn what cold storage even is. And anybody saying that there's a backdoor in personal cold storage, I'll tell you right now, that's bullshit. It's not true. It's false. And if anyone else thinks there is a backdoor that exists in these cold storage units, let me tell you something. It's far likely that there's a backdoor in institutional custody because they interact with the banks, they interact with the regulators, they interact with all the third parties that don't necessarily act in your interest. It makes sense. So in my opinion, cold storage is controllable, private, and secure when done correctly, period. And I can help you with that. And so can my friend Ito. So yeah, you want to make some statements?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone needs specialized or help, just they can book consulting sessions with Versan and also with me. We do assist with these issues if someone needs assistance. Another thing is I want to answer a question that someone asks if purchasing crypto through Revolut is a good idea. They just became a bank in the UK. So I don't like Revolut for crypto because it has extremely high fees. Okay. And second, if you purchase your crypto there and you move the crypto outside of Revolut, they're also going to tax you. It's like not tax you in the sense of government tax, but tax you in the sense of you're going to pay a lot of fees to move your crypto out of Revolut. And if you leave crypto inside Revolut you don't own the cryptos. You don't have self-custody. So it's not a good option for crypto. Actually, I recommend you to use any crypto exchange that has low transaction fees, just like Binance, even Upholds. Well, you have hundreds, not hundreds, but dozens of alternatives, and then you can just withdraw the crypto from the exchange and send to a cold wallet. That's the way to do it. Now, when it comes down to Revolut, it's quite interesting because I do use Revolut to off-ramp small amounts of money. Okay, not only small amounts. I used it up to 50,000 euros off-ramping crypto to Revolut. It works very well in Europe, but have in mind, don't exceed those amounts, because then you're going to be at risk. Let's say you withdraw a large amount from your crypto exchange to Revolut, they might frozen it. And then you have to find ways to unlock those funds, and that can be very pricey. You will need a digital wallet certificate. I work with a law firm that does a digital wallet certificate by a duly certified lawyer in Europe. So that's a way to do it. Let's say if you are off-ramping 10 million euros, but to make a long story short, you can use Revolut only to off-ramp small to mid-sized amounts, but don't use it to leave your crypto there. Is a terrible idea. Use it as a transitory means to actually off-ramp some amounts of crypto. That's what I recommend about Revolut.
Yeah. I did add the link in the comments over here. Hopefully you guys get it. I put the link for Brave. It's free. Just click it, download it, or go to bravebrowser.com. And I added Cloaked as well. Cloaked is what I use. I've been using it since last year. And you know what? Maybe I can show something to everybody just to give you some context of what it's done for me, if that's all right. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So I just want to give people an idea of the security that it provides. Here we go. I'm going to share it with you guys. Okay, so look at this. I'm not going to click on it, guys, because it will reveal certain information. But you see this number of 5,133 records removed. I'm not even kidding. When I applied and started up with this, it took 1 month to get about 600 different scammers, impersonators out there on the internet using my mom's name with my current address with an old phone number of mine from years ago to go ahead and scam people and impersonate me and try to use identity theft. So if these records are being removed from the internet, I think everyone should use this to protect themselves in the digital age. Okay. Maybe I haven't been hacked ever because I have all these layers of security. Now, I do spend quite a bit of money on protecting my assets, especially my crypto, different laptops I use. So my personal phone right here, I use it to, of course, use X to look at things, you know, to watch videos, but I never do cryptocurrency on this phone ever. I don't trade. I don't transact on this thing. I only use it to watch the markets and, you know, to keep track of everything. I have a separate phone and I have a separate laptop for all of this, for crypto. And they're in Faraday bags as well. They have no cellular network connection. So I just use it for the internet. I do have Starlink. It sucks. It doesn't work. But you know, I think just being a contrarian as far as how you invest and how you handle things is probably the better way to approach this, because everybody has their stuff on chain at all times. Most people do. They have a lot of their assets on Uphold, on Coinbase, and Caleb and Brown, and I'd be very cautious. Institutional custody as well. Let me tell you something. If the banks go down, all your assets are going down too. And I don't care if they say they're insured. Many banks have been insured for years and they're all insolvent. So be realistic. Regulatory changes. Did you know XRP is a strategic asset? It's in the strategic reserve. What if it becomes so strategic because it truly is a threat to the dollar-centric system that they just confiscated from you. Well, institutional custody would be the first people to give up control because they fall under the regulatory guidelines. So if the regulations change, they have to comply. I'm just speculating. All right. Listen, the institutions that are now involved in all of this, they don't give a crap about you. I promise you. I promise you. They don't care about you. They just want all your assets and they would like to make fees on it. So just be cautious. As far as Ripple XRP, there are a little bit of developments. I saw an article recently that they're integrating artificial intelligence into the XRP ledger. That's pretty cool. But I don't know if you guys saw my post on the quantum computers. I don't know if you noticed that, but I was digging into the quantum computing risks across blockchains because people kept asking about it. And the reality is that today, it's true, there is no quantum proof blockchain, not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, and not XRP. And that's because they rely on something called elliptic curve cryptography, where they simply just use a very basic mathematical code to keep your public keys private, and only you have control over it. But this is what I found out about XRP and where it stood apart, is that Bitcoin is rigid by design, and the Ethereum upgrades are very expensive and slow. And now Bitcoin can be upgraded too, but it's very expensive and slow. And it's very complex and risky. Basically, if you make some massive changes to the network, it could destabilize the entire thing, all of it. Like it could collapse. What I found interesting about XRP though, is that it was built differently. And that's because its ledger is governed by something at the protocol level. And now I'm not really a blockchain expert as far as code, okay? But it can be upgraded through something called validator consensus without halting transactions. Basically, when quantum computers become a threat later on, XRP, like a living thing, which is very crazy to think about, it can evolve in such a real time where it keeps the network secure and functional while other chains become vulnerable. So I found that very interesting. And I reported that weeks ago. But now the fact that AI is being integrated into RippleNet infrastructure, the timing just couldn't be more perfect about how this is going to play out. I just think all the pieces are falling into place exactly as we anticipated, proving basically XRP is built for the future.
Nicely said, Versan. We are over 1 hour, so let's jump into some final thoughts. From my side, I want to send a special thanks to everyone for supporting me. As you know, last week was a very difficult time, and I am happy to be back. We're going to be back here next Monday with the turning points. Versan, any final thoughts from your side?
Yeah, I'm going to leave the war out of it. It seems that people are not ready for the truth.
It's up to you, mate. I think you did a phenomenal job explaining how it's tied to cryptocurrencies. But honestly, I agree with you. It's still a topic that it's hard for us to talk freely, especially on YouTube. We can't really express our ideas. By the way, there is a funny guy complaining about my accent. He's very funny. I speak 7 languages, by the way. I could respond to him in seven different languages, but I would just choose to stay silent anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
and yeah, I want to send us a thanks for all the prayers as well. I think to some degree it has been a miracle that I got my channel back, because honestly I was denied the appeal like 3 or 4 different times. So I was at the point already, I was losing hope, and then I woke up and my channel was restored. So I am very happy about it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think what we should do also, maybe we should talk about this later, but I did mention the Patreon thing. I want you to come join me on that. I think we should do it together. Okay. Anyways, I got really concerned because we run a show together, and I'd love to get David back on too, and my brother as well. But listen, all right, I want to give people some like hope a little bit about where this is all going. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get removed?
Yeah, I removed you by mistake. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, it is true. Like at the end of all of this, I do think there's going to be some conflict. The conflict is definitely going to trigger something, right? And the end game, based on everything that's been happening as far as how close you report this and look at it. And I know a lot of the people in the community here are great researchers. They're on top of everything. They're just waiting, right? Many of us are patiently waiting, but it's true. You're going to see some massive catalyst. God knows what it's going to be. That's going to basically roll out this new system. And once it's fully operational, it's going to function very neutral, agnostic. It's going to be XRP. Sound like a broken record, I know. But it isn't science fiction, I promise you. This is all mathematics, it's code, it's distributed ledger technology applied at scale. And if liquidity can all of a sudden be algorithmically sourced and deployed instantly without gatekeeping of legacy institutions, you flip the entire system upside down. And I hate to revisit this, but I think, that's why the SEC went after Ripple. They went after Ripple for so many different reasons, but one of them was so they can build the infrastructure and position themselves accordingly before all of this plays out, because they realized they couldn't compete with it. It killed the entire banking system entirely. They couldn't allow that. So, I hope the banks get a taste of their own medicine. I really do. Because I think right now the banks are pretty much dominating the entire ecosystem, man. And all wars are bankers' wars, like my title says. It's true. Instead of protesting Washington, D.C. or going to the White House and protesting, why don't people go to JP Morgan? They do more damage than the White House does. In fact, the banks influence the conditions of policy at the White House. So who's the enemy here, right? It's the ones who are making all the rules and regulations. And by the way, the banks own the SEC. They own the judges. They own all the politicians, like George Carlin would say.
They privately own the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. So why are people standing in front of the White House? It was funny because, I have family here now, and look at this comment. He's going to copy and paste this all day. All right. Yeah.
That's
see,
funny.
people like that, there's something wrong in their head, right? But that's okay. We forgive him.
Sorry, Versan. Just one thing. They are doing this scam. They are texting you saying you need LLC, and it's actually scammers. So be very careful with this. I'm not involved with this, and be very careful.
Can I show something to the audience real quick? This will take.
Yeah, sure.
I have never gone up in a podcast, but I'm going to go grab something real quick. I want to share it. So I have a family now.
Oh my God. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm building a foundation. So I talked to some very wealthy, successful individuals who are clients of mine. And I asked them about the LLCs and what they're doing to really protect their assets. Turns out the foundation is the best approach. Create a foundation. And then it started to make sense. I did a little research about, the Bill Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Rothschild Foundation. And the foundation is the best approach to consolidating your wealth and protecting it, because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the foundation, right? I'm doing more research on this, but I want to show you my crest. I got my crest. Give me 1 second.
By the way, Versan just became a father, everyone. So that's something you want to congratulate him. I think probably you all know about it already.
Well, actually, no. I don't think anyone knows.
Man.
Not gonna put his, it's okay.
Did I leak your secret or something?
No. But yeah, this is it. Say, yeah.
Very nice.
It actually has my initials in there. So it's a rising phoenix, by the way, with a crown. Yeah. So anytime we, basically what I found out is anytime we start accumulating assets, what we're going to do is put it in the foundation and pretty much stamp it. And this is
nice.
We're filling out some of the other stuff. So it's going to take some time to put this together.
Yeah, they are dropping a lot of comments, Versan, for congratulations. He's blessed with a very beautiful son. I think he was born the same day I was banned from YouTube, so I couldn't properly congratulate you, man. So I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was like 5 days ago. Yeah. Well, I
I
appreciate
saw
it.
the picture, and
Support. Yeah.
he's very beautiful. Yeah.
It's been very rewarding so far, and I haven't been sleeping much, that's for sure. But that's okay. Listen, all right. So we will reconvene next week. Maybe we can bring David in and pick up the conversation. And I'm going to leave the war out of it. I think, there's a time and place to have these discussions. It's just, I like to talk about things that are happening before they hit the headlines, because it might happen. I mean, something could happen later on down the road where it becomes very clear about all of this, what we talked about, and it will be too late to react, right? The idea, I think, is to anticipate how things are playing out and why before they play out, so we can hopefully, as a community, do the right thing.
Wise words, Versan. Well, everyone, thank you. We're going to see you next week. Hopefully, we're going to have our YouTube channels until next week. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. And I apologize again. Hopefully, I did not piss off some of my supporters.
It's all right, man.
All right.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.